Hello, welcome back to my channel and to today's video where I'm going to be talking about my favourite topic, cashmere. So here I've got a little edit and I've got a selection of pieces from what I would say are my top recommendations of brands from the high street for buying 100% pure cashmere. So I'm going to get stuck straight in with my first brand, and that is COS. So I have quite an extensive cashmere collection, it has to be said, something that I've collected over years and years. I have a real passion for it, I have a real interest in it, and it's something that I wear on pretty much a daily basis throughout autumn, winter, even some of spring, even some of summer. And quite a substantial portion of my cashmere collection is COS. This is my top brand recommendation, if you have the budget for it, for buying cashmere on the high street. So I've got a couple of pieces from COS just to show you guys and run through. The first of which is my top favourite piece from COS. It's something that they've brought out for the last few years now, and each season they bring out slightly different colourways, and it is the chunky funnel neck jumper. So because this is one of my favourite pieces from the COS cashmere collection, I do have it in 4 different colours now, again, which I've collected over various years. This burgundy colour was a new addition both to COS and to my personal collection this season. Now this style is a style that I really love because it embodies what a cashmere jumper should be. It is thick, it's cosy, it's got that funnel neck so you can really sort of snuggle up in it. Now I don't even know where to start when it comes to COS cashmere because there's nothing that I don't love, but I think where I will start is the thickness. Now, not all of COS cashmere is this thick, but you can tell based on the different images on the website for each product, sort of how thick an item is. Now, unfortunately, one thing that they don't display and that they don't disclose is the ply of their cashmere. However, if I had to make an educated guess on the ply of this cashmere, just based on knowing the ply of some of my other cashmere pieces that are perhaps from more premium brands, I'd say this particular style is around a 6 or 7 ply. It's so thick, and that's why this is an ultimate favourite of mine from the whole COS cashmere collection. Now, as I've mentioned, not all COS cashmere is as thick as the funnel neck, so here I have got one of their, what I call more basic pieces. This is just a really good item for layering. It's a basic crew neck jumper. They've got it in just a handful of colours this season, but again, it's something that they bring out season after season around the autumn winter time. And unlike the thicker funnel neck, this particular jumper is a little bit more practical for day-to-day wear when it comes to layering under certain coats, because if you've watched any of my recent coat videos, you'll have heard me talking about drop sleeves and lots of various different features when it comes to coats and when it comes to pairing them with certain knits, thicker or thinner. Right, moving on to another very strong recommendation of mine, and that is Uniqlo. Now, Uniqlo is a brand that I would recommend as sort of an introduction to cashmere. If you've never tried cashmere before, you're a bit curious, or if you have perhaps not the budget for some of these other pieces that I've got coming up on the rail, and certainly not for COS, then Uniqlo is an excellent place to start. These are also really good basics. I have been buying these for years and I just think they are great. They're something that I sort of substitute for my t-shirts and vests and that kind of thing, the basics, if you will, that I would have been wearing throughout summer. When it comes to autumn, winter, I then switch to these, which are my more premium and much warmer basics. So first of all, these come in 4 different options currently in the ladies wear range, but you can also check the men's range because they've got a couple of others as well. So we've got here the crew neck, the polar neck and the V-neck, and they do also come in cardigan form, which I personally don't have in my collection because I don't get a lot of wear out of cardigans. There are also lots of different colour options, including your core colours, kind of like what I've got to show you here, your navy, black, grey, beige, some creams as well, other neutral colours. And then each season they usually introduce some seasonally appropriate colours, whatever could perhaps be classed as a trend, and some more colourful options as well for those of you who like a little bit of colour. So as I've mentioned, these are the pieces that I swap out for my t-shirts and wear in autumn and winter. They are great for layering, which brings me to thickness. They're not incredibly thick. I would say maybe about a 3-ply. And over the years, there's been a lot of chatter amongst us Uniqlo regulars, just with regards to the quality of these cashmere pieces and how it's kind of changed and fluctuated over the years. Now, I remember 1 or 2 years ago, the cashmere didn't feel quite as soft as the previous years. However, this year, it feels like that softness is back. And so therefore, these do remain a very solid recommendation of mine for a more budget-friendly option and perhaps as your introduction to cashmere. Okay, on to my next brand now, and that is H&M. Now, H&M's cashmere always falls within their premium collection. Their premium collection is something that I've spoken about over years now. It's definitely the collection that I shop the most when I'm shopping at H&M. So here I've got a couple of examples from their current range. They're both, again, what I would call slightly more basic pieces of cashmere. So they're those thinner, more wearable options for sort of day-to-day wear. So first of all, this is the fine knit crew neck. It has a relaxed fit. It's actually a very similar style to the crew neck from COS and the crew neck from Uniqlo. I'd say thickness wise, it's more sort of on a par with the Uniqlo option, whereas the COS one feels a little bit more fluffier and more premium, which I think is always reflective of price. And this is the fine knit polar neck. So this is essentially the exact same style as the crew neck, but with a polar neck. So we've got that relaxed, slightly more oversized fit, again with the drop sleeves, drop shoulders. And this one currently comes in three very wearable colours actually. There's no rogue colours here. So once again, just to reiterate in terms of the quality and the thickness and softness, I'd say that this sits ever so slightly higher just because there's some style elements in here as well in comparison to Uniqlo, but it definitely does not trump COS. Right, and then I do actually have a third option from H&M Premium. This is the brushed cashmere crew neck, and I did want to feature just one brushed cashmere item in today's video. So this is an oversized fit with quite wide slouchy sleeves, and this is the first time that I've seen brushed cashmere at H&M, but as I've mentioned in previous videos, it's having a bit of a moment this season because I've noticed it appearing at more and more retailers. Now, it is more expensive than regular non-brushed cashmere. So this one, for example, was £199. Fortunately, I had a H&M members discount and I applied some additional discount vouchers that I had as well. So I got a bit of a chunk off, but it is incredibly soft. I just always want to fondle it. But it does come with some downsides. So firstly, and this might seem quite obvious, but it does molt. So with movement, it will shed some fibres. It's not quite as bad as something with mohair in it, but it's just something to be aware of. If you were wearing like a darker coloured coat, you might get a bit of fluff transfer, or darker coloured trousers even. It's also dry clean only, so no washing. Again, just something to bear in mind because that is an additional cost. So to keep it looking nice and fluffy, it requires brushing, and to do this I use a mohair brush just to keep it looking nice and fresh. So I suppose one of the downsides is that it is more high maintenance than regular cashmere. And just as a side note and a bit of a shameless plug, I do have a how I care for my cashmere full video over on my channel. I'll also link it in the description box of this video just to make it easy for you guys, for anyone that wants to check out my sort of care routine, which covers storage, bubbles, laundering, all that kind of stuff for anyone who is interested. And then one more thing that I want to note about H&M, and this goes for some of the other brands as well, but H&M I think have a really, really strong collection of cashmere blend pieces, which aren't quite as high a price pointed as you would expect. Cashmere is a more premium fibre, and the less fibre you have within a garment, the less it's going to cost. But I've actually got one on here. This is one of their 10% cashmere, 90% wool pieces. I love this. I have it in 3 colours, really thick, substantial, beautiful jumper, and this is also something that I would recommend. Okay, moving on to my next brand now, and that is Jaeger. Now, they don't have a whole range of different cashmere pieces each season. I've just noticed a handful or less, but when they make them, they are timeless, they are classic, they are well made. They are truly beautiful, beautiful pieces. And if, like me, you're able to get one with 20% discount, I would highly, highly recommend. So this is the crew neck jumper, and at full price, this is £185. However, I was able to purchase this recently with a discount for £148. So this is available in 4 different colours. It has a relaxed fit, and actually the body length, as you'll see here, is slightly longer, but it can also be tucked, half tucked, however you want to wear it. And when it comes to softness, I would put this right up there next to COS because it feels very, very soft. This particular piece isn't quite as thick as some of the thicker COS pieces, but it is slightly thicker than the crew neck, which I shared with you earlier. And once again, I'm just going to reiterate that this is excellent value for something that is this well made. The fit, the feel, the thickness, the colour, it's just a very classic and beautiful piece of knitwear, especially if you could get it with any discount. Okay, next up is Hush, and I would put this in a very similar category to Jaeger in the sense that they don't have a really vast range of cashmere pieces to choose from, just a handful, but the pieces that they do make, they're very well curated, very well designed, really nice quality. This one here is the Cora crew neck jumper. It's thick, it's beautiful, and of course they have focused on some very, very classic and key colours for this season and all other autumn winter seasons as well. Now, I also managed to buy this with a bit of discount recently. I bought this from the Marks & Spencer website, again with 20% off. It was a brand discount, so once more I'll just reiterate how it's such a good time of year to be looking at higher price pointed items like cashmere. In terms of style, this one is more of an oversized style, so you do not need to size up. I would read any of the reviews just with regards to size because a lot of people don't quite like the oversized fit. For me, that's something that I very much do enjoy, but just something to note. Now, this one does feel like a much thicker ply, but again, the official ply is unknown. It feels very similar to the COS chunky knits, however, maybe not quite as thick and chunky, perhaps 1 ply less. It's also not quite as soft as the COS or the Jaeger, but nonetheless, still very beautiful. And now onto my final brand, which is Massimo Dutti. So these kind of sit up within that top price point range. This season, they do even have some of their more thicker, chunkier cashmere pieces, which are sitting in the £400 mark, which I haven't got to share with you guys today. I did attempt it, but my size wasn't available. So instead, I've just got a couple of their, again, what I call more basic options. So first up here, we've got the V-neck jumper. This one comes in at £199. It's available in 4 different colours. And when it comes to fabric composition, it is 100% cashmere, which it had to be in order to make it into this video. But 20% of which is RCS certified. And this means the recycled claim standard. So it's recycled cashmere. And the recycled claim standard is just something that verifies the recycled content and tracks it right the way from its source, where the cashmere is being recycled, up to the finished product. The other 80% of the fabric composition is virgin cashmere. Virgin meaning brand new. But one thing to note is that there is no GCS certification for any of the Massimo Dutti cashmere options that I could find on their website at this time. Now let's talk fabric, feel and thickness in comparison to some of the other similar style pieces that I've featured already in this video. So when it comes to softness, I would say the softness of this cashmere is softer than Uniqlo, softer than H&M, but not quite as soft as Jaeger and COS. And the same goes for thickness. It's a little bit thicker than H&M, a little bit thicker than Uniqlo. It's along a similar lines to the Jaeger thickness of that beautiful beige crew neck jumper, but it's not quite as thick as those really thick, chunky pieces from COS. However, these are a slightly different style, and you might not always want a super chunky piece of knitwear. You might want something that's just a little bit easier for wearing day to day, under different coats, etc. And these are a really good option for just that. And there we go, guys. Those were my top brand recommendations for buying a 100% pure, soft, sumptuous cashmere on the high street. I will make sure that I leave any size information, any links, including, again, the link to that How I Care for My Cashmere video, all down below in the description box for your reference. But for now, that is it from me. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.